start recording, Mike and the Virtuozzo team will get that recording and can make it available to everyone who's interested. So I would like to welcome everybody to the premiere of CloudFest Academy. So we will start in a moment, and I quickly show you how you can actually interact. So you basically have two main measures how you can interact with the speakers today. Of course, you have the live chat symbol, which is on the upper right. It has this little paper plane. You can start posing your question there, but be careful. Once you submitted your question, everybody can read it. So be careful what you write, but please make use of it. Ask challenging questions. We have a real expert in this room today, so please make use of that. Alternatively, you can also raise your hand. So as if being in the classroom and we are all sitting together, you maybe recall it from a few years back, and you raise your hand, and then the teacher, in this case Mike, can invite you to come onto stage. You can ask your question, but be aware that you give access to your microphone and to your webcam so we can see you and hear you, of course, and you can then have a personal discussion with Mike. And this can be with other attendees as well. Once you post your question and your question has been answered, you may have to return to the general audience because otherwise we will have a split screen with too many people. So this is how the actual platform works. And now I would very much like to welcome our today's teacher. His name is Mike Brömme. He's a senior product manager at Virtuozzo. Here he is. Mike, welcome. Hello. You have more than 18 years of experience, hands-on experience using Virtuozzo technology, but of course, making products better. You said about yourself, you don't consider yourself as a general geek, but a person with a strong passion for technology, and I can prove that. The two of us have a very special relationship. When I started at a hosting company many years back, and that hosting company was also organizing Web Hosting Day, which is the predecessor of CloudFest, I kind of joined the company, and shortly afterwards, Mike left. So I think that was just a coincidence, but a very funny one. You have more than 10 years of experience working at those managed hosting companies, managing large-scale virtualization environments. Afterwards, you spent 4 years with Acronis as a product development for cyber infrastructure. And in your free time, so to say, you love to fix annoying bugs in open source code. Thank you very much for that. I'm really looking forward to this masterclass. I would like to hand over to you now. And again, to everyone, please make this a very vivid conversation. Ask tough questions. You have the chance to grill one of the experts of Virtuozzo, ask questions, and make the most out of it so you can have better products going forward. And after the session, I would be very much pleased if you join us in the networking lounge so we can have a one-on-one discussion as well. So enjoy your masterclass. I will stop sharing my screen and hand over to you, Mike. Mike, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. So let me share my screen. So I hope everybody can see it. Actually, the topic for today is Virtuozzo Linux, or we call it VzLinux, as a free and open source alternative to CentOS and to some other free Linux distributions from which are rebuilding Red Hat source code into an enterprise-like distribution. So let me just give you a quick summary because, a very quick one, actually, because Christian did it already. Who I am. Actually, my name is Mike Brömme. I'm a senior product manager here at Virtuozzo, responsible for Virtuozzo Hybrid Server, which is our hosting provider product, including containers and virtual machines and software-defined storage. Also, Virtuozzo Linux, which is our main topic for today, and some additional products we are going to release next year, which I will explain a little bit later, just very briefly on a high level. But of course, you can ask questions for them as well. So I have a very long history with Virtuozzo already. I am a user of Virtuozzo technology since almost 20 years, driving Virtuozzo's product success since 10 years. As Christian mentioned, prior to joining Virtuozzo and Parallels and Acronis, so it's a huge family, I was working for a large hosting provider in Germany, which has been acquired by GoDaddy a while ago. And I have a special focus on combining protection and virtualization. That's what we're going to talk a bit later about as well. 10 years experience in hosting industries, 10 years in product development, specifically at Virtuozzo and Acronis. I do, as Christian mentioned, open source development just for fun in my free time. I have a passion for open source and for technology. And I'm always looking for cool and unique features. So if you have some ideas, just share it with me and we will turn it into some feature into our products. So let me start from who Virtuozzo is and who we are as a company. So in our 20 years history, we have a strong commitment into open source. We're building all our commercial products on top of open source. And this is one of the key important facts for our company. And also a key factor for measuring the success is amount of contributions into open source projects, which are well known and widely used by our partners or by enterprise companies. So our engineering team is actively contributing to mainly the virtualization stack in Linux and the Linux kernel. So it's namely KVM, QEMU, and libvirt. And Virtuozzo is by amount of contributions since 2016, number 4th contributor to all these projects. So we have a strong commitment to open source. We are well known. We have very good credentials in open source and very good credentials in virtualization development. So about our history. Actually, in 2001, so almost 20 years ago now, we invented container virtualization for hosting providers to serve high-density system container virtualization into their existing infrastructure. So we want to allow service providers to host as much or as many as possible containers on a single physical machine. This was a great success on the market because we allowed all our customers to increase their revenue significantly. They could basically partition a physical system into hundreds of smaller environments and sell these environments to end users as a virtual private server. And basically, this was the time when VPS offerings have been born. So almost all of the VPS offerings back at these times were running to some degree either on Virtuozzo containers or later on our open source product. So in 2005, we released OpenVZ, which is our open source, a container-based virtualization solution for Linux. Allows to run multiple containers on a bare metal system like our commercial product. It has PID network namespace and memory isolation, serving a better utilization of hardware resources, and so on. Each container can act as a standalone, independent operating system. So as a standalone server, basically you deploy a Linux distribution inside the container. The container is started and you can give any user root access to this container. They can do whatever they want with this container besides modifying the kernel because the kernel is shared across all the containers. But they can deploy applications, they can deploy mail servers, web servers, run WordPress installations and instances and so on. So they have a lot of options what to do with the system. And all these allows you to lively resize a container. So in OpenVZ, in our commercial product, you can just take a container, add CPU resources to it, remove CPU resources, increase disk space, add memory, remove memory. All this can be done on the fly. Then in 2012, we released our software-defined storage solution. Actually, it was integrated into our commercial Virtuozzo product to serve high availability and high scalable infrastructure. So it's combined in a single product, but it's optional to use. So you can either continue to use, for example, local storage, or you can use our software-defined storage, which is called Virtuozzo storage. You can grow beyond physical limits with this storage. You have data high availability, data redundancy, container and virtual machine high availability on top of Virtuozzo storage, and so on. Also, in 2012, we released Clio. It's checkpoint and restore in user space and allows to freeze running applications or part of it, and you can restore it at any given time later. And also, one of the biggest benefits is it allows to suspend containers and applications on x86 systems, for example, and allow you to restore it later on another architecture, for example, on ARM. This is what we call supporting multiple architectures. And you can restore application from any given point in time when it was frozen, and at any given point in time. This was well adapted. Actually, it was re-implementation of our previous approach to do live migration in kernel space, which has a lot of problems. When you do live migration in kernel space, immediately a very small bug or problem can lead to a kernel panic, which affects all other containers running on the system. With moving it from kernel space to user space, you can mitigate such problems very easily. So when there is a bug in live migration, it only affects the container which is currently being suspended and resumed, so not the whole physical machine. So in 2018, we released P-Hall, which was an extension to Clio for live migration. It's basically an iterative migration. So we do it in several steps. When the container is dumped, we can do with the help of P-Hall migration in smaller chunks to the destination site. In this case, freezing time of the container is much lower, just because we do initial copy of the running container, of its memory and its state to the destination machine. And after this process has been finished, we only migrate the changed, so in iterative ways, the changed data and changed memory state and process states from the beginning of the migration. So this is very fast and very convenient way. And this project is well adopted. It's used already by other companies doing live migration and suspend. For example, Red Hat is using Clio to do suspend and resume of applications and so on. And since 2019, we are shipping our multi-tenant hyper-converged solution, which is called Virtuozzo Hybrid Infrastructure. Basically, it's combining what we have already, storage, compute, and networking as a out-of-the-box single solution. It's fully OpenStack compatible, so it's basically OpenStack orchestrated, runs a management panel on top, which allows you to manage infrastructure. Plus, it has a built-in self-service panel, which allows tenants to manage their resources, creating virtual machines, creating services like load balancers, creating services like Kubernetes, and so on. So in 2021, so this year, we released VzLinux. As you may know, last year in December, Red Hat announced that CentOS 8 is going to be end of life, end of this year. So after December 2021, there will be no more security and major updates for CentOS 8. They will just stop it. And actually, since we have already Virtuozzo Hybrid Server and OpenVZ since 20 years, which is basically a rebuild of Red Hat Enterprise Linux source code plus our patches for kernel and plus our applications for user space. We decided to ship our VzLinux operating system, which is used by all our other products, as a free and open source alternative to our customers and to everybody else. Everybody who needs an enterprise-like Linux distribution can use VzLinux. It's fully free and open source, and it will be forever fully free and open source. It's a one-to-one Red Hat clone, so it's just compiled from Red Hat sources, and it's made for the Linux community. We will right now we have 3 different flavors. They are available in as community flavors for containers, virtual machines, and bare metal. And we are going to introduce later this year an enterprise flavor. Basically, this flavor only includes support and third-party application certification. It's a hypervisor agnostic, so we support multiple, running it as a guest under multiple hypervisors. It has support from hyperscalers, so you can run it under KVM, under Virtuozzo, under VMware, under Hyper-V. It doesn't matter. We support very easy upgrade and conversion. Actually, we will show it today as well. So if you're ready to use utility to upgrade on the fly from CentOS 8 to VzLinux 8, plus the possibility to convert CentOS 7 directly to VzLinux 8. This is what we are going to show today. What is our track record? So actually, we have very strong experience. We do enterprise Linux distributions and rebuilding it from Red Hat since 20 years. As I've mentioned, it's our base operating system for OpenVZ and for Virtuozzo Hybrid Server and also for Virtuozzo Hybrid Infrastructure, by the way. So all is based on our rebuild of Red Hat Enterprise Linux. We have a fully automated build system and an automated build validation test system. So whenever Red Hat publishes updates, we can easily rebuild, test, and publish them. We are a trusted partner, so majority of our customers are long-term customers. So they use Virtuozzo Hybrid Server already from the beginning. So they made all these name changes with us, like from Virtuozzo containers to Parallels, Virtuozzo containers to Parallels Cloud Server to Virtuozzo Hybrid Server. So they are also long-term customers. And they are in this business as long as we are. So they will get a huge benefit, which is single support. They know us as a trusted partner. They know that we are capable to solve even very, very complicated and complex cases in Linux. So not only in the Linux kernel, but also in virtualization and so on. So we have huge credentials here. And that's why we are a trusted partner for delivering support and help for an enterprise Linux distribution as well. We will also deliver continuous support. So it's not that we are going to publish VzLinux and then forget about it. Since it's our base operating system for OpenVZ and Virtuozzo Hybrid Server, we will deliver updates as long as Red Hat does. Because we rely heavily on VzLinux for our commercial products. Without VzLinux, we would not have any commercial product. Just want to be very clear here. And it's already available. Some people may know that we have already VzLinux 6, 7, and 8. So it's not only that we have VzLinux 8, we also have version 7 and version 6. Because in the past we had Virtuozzo 6. We had even earlier versions of Virtuozzo based on older versions of Red Hat Enterprise Linux. But 6, 7, and 8 are already available for containers. Conversion utility from CentOS 8 to VzLinux 8 is also available. Not only to OpenVZ, it has been released in Virtuozzo Hybrid Server as well. And we have also the utility already for CentOS 7 to VzLinux 8 conversion. It's in our GitHub repository. Everybody can download it and run it. But we also have it for containers. So what is currently available? So I've mentioned some points already. So our community edition, which is available currently, is based on latest Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8.4. This is available. We have templates for the latest version of Red Hat Enterprise Linux 6, rebuilt as VzLinux 6, 7, and 8 for containers. Latest version 8 for virtual machines and bare metal. And we have our CentOS 8 to VzLinux 8 conversion utility for containers, virtual machines, and bare metal. This utility works without downtime. So you can do live conversion either from inside the virtual machine or on top of a bare metal server. Of course, in this case, you cannot do mass conversion for VMs, for example. But for containers, we also have mass conversion. So we have utility which can be downloaded to a host system, and all your CentOS 8 containers running there can be easily converted without downtime. We support dry run so that you can just test such conversion if there are some applications which may not be available or supported under VzLinux 8, if they are from third-party repositories and so on. You can also do a rollback. So in case there is a conversion which fails, we take a snapshot of each container before we execute conversion, and you can roll back. This is also very important. And we have already Docker images available. Also, what we have released is CentOS 7 to VzLinux 8 upgrade utility. Of course, in this case, it's with downtime, especially in case of bare metal and virtual machines. We need to reboot into a new Linux kernel, so that's why it definitely is with downtime. But we also have CentOS 7 to VzLinux 8 utility for mass conversion from host node. So in this case, you can convert your older CentOS 7 environment to the latest VzLinux 8 version. This is what we are going to demonstrate for containers during our masterclass today. So what is going to be finished in this quarter? Actually, we are going to release our CentOS 7 to VzLinux 8 utility. You can download it already from GitHub, by the way, so you can try it on your own. Templates in all the hyperscaler markets have been uploaded and are in publishing process. And we have actually what we released already is a cloud image for OpenStack. It's available already on our download site. So you can download it from the repository where all the ISO images are also available for VzLinux. So the cloud image is there as well. And we are going to release our enterprise edition with control panel support in VzLinux. And in next quarter, Acronis will also support backing up VzLinux environments with their Acronis Cyber Protect agent. And as I've mentioned already, in Q4, we are going also to ship Enterprise Edition with much more features like ready kernel for live patching. So when you run VzLinux on top of any bare metal or inside a virtual machine, all the security patches for the Linux kernel are applied live without any reboot. Actually, we have already some optimized flavors for containers and virtual machines. They are already available. I have some slides regarding performance data, which I want to share later. And we are going to introduce our hoster edition, specifically focusing on LAMPstack and WordPress. And of course, commercial support and troubleshooting is one of the features of our enterprise edition. So when you subscribe for a commercial license, you get also commercial support and troubleshooting. Regarding our time to release comparison. So actually we compared VzLinux 7 and VzLinux 8 with CentOS, which was our primary competitor. Game has changed a bit because there Alma Linux has been released, Rocky Linux has been released. But in terms of VzLinux 7, we had only competition with CentOS 7. And in average, we are 22 days faster than CentOS in applying all the changes in a major update from Red Hat and rebuilding all the components, all the applications, the kernel, and so on, and delivering a ready-to-use Linux distribution. In case of VzLinux 8, it was even better compared to CentOS. Here we are 33 days faster. And actually, day 0 is the time of Red Hat Enterprise Linux release. So that's why we don't compare with RHEL. When RHEL is released, everybody usually starts to rebuild their Linux distributions. And regarding performance, I want to start from just from some clarification, because otherwise I would expect this question. We haven't patched anything in our rebuild. So it's just a straight one-to-one rebuild. All these performance benefits comes from the fact that we can tune our virtualization, because this is comparison for containers, to make Linux guests perform better. So this is only result of different configuration. We can tune the guest system, just all the applications running inside, and so on, so to deliver better performance. So nothing has been patched here or changed. So it's fully binary compatible, and it's still one-to-one straight rebuild. But we optimize the configuration settings inside the container to get better performance. And due to this, we have 25% faster containers compared to CentOS 8, Rocky Linux 8.4, and Alma Linux 8.4. Just due to the fact that we tune the performance, tune the configuration. And actually, we did the same for LAMP containers. So the first benchmark was for vConsolidate, which is basically a heavy benchmark suite which runs a lot of different workloads to simulate a real system. And with a LAMP performance test, which is DVD store transaction test, where we just test transaction rate per second. Even with our optimizations there, we are 10% faster than containers with CentOS, Rocky, or Alma Linux. 10% doesn't sound like much, but this is for a single container. In case you run more and more containers, you see it here, this becomes even better. So when you start with like one container, there's almost no difference. In case of 10 containers, it's also negligible. But it becomes more and more important if you run in average like 60 to 140 containers, which is pretty much what our customers are doing, especially in case of containers. They run roughly like 100 to 150 containers on a physical machine. And for virtual machines, we also introduced some configuration changes just to tune the guest operating system and also our guest tools. And we can deliver 10% performance gain compared to our other competitors like CentOS, Rocky, and Alma Linux. So where you can get all these data and all these stuff. So first of all, you can download system container templates on a Virtuozzo hybrid server easily via yum. So you can just do yum install VzLinux template version 8 or version 7, and it's downloaded, cached, and you can create containers based on it. You can get the Docker template via Docker pile command and download latest VzLinux 8 and create Docker containers based on it. You can get our conversion utility from our repository for CentOS 8 to VzLinux 8 because it has been officially released. So you can download it from official location. And you can also upgrade, download our container upgrade utility for CentOS 7 to VzLinux 8 from our GitHub site. And for virtual machines and bare metal, the conversion utility is also available on GitHub. It has been RTM'd already, so you can download it from there. It's not in our repository of Virtuozzo hybrid server just because it's working inside virtual machines and on top of bare metal. It is not related directly to Virtuozzo hybrid server. And you can download the ISO image from our website and the repository if you need some individual package as well. And more information is available on vzlinux.org or on our virtuozzo.com website. Yeah. So actually, that's it for VzLinux till now. I want to switch, before I go to the next slides, I want to switch to the demo section, but let me check if there are some questions already. There's at least no raised hand, but let me see if okay, let me also read the questions because I'm not sure if everything is included in the recording later. Jürgen Weber is asking, do you need to buy the enterprise flavor when you use Virtuozzo, or is the enterprise flavor already included in Virtuozzo for the VMs and containers? It's a good question. Right now, it's not bundled. Actually, we have some plans to bundle it so that the customers who run Virtuozzo or Virtuozzo Hybrid Server and Virtuozzo Hybrid Infrastructure, that they get also included support for all the guests which run Virtuozzo Linux. We are not there yet, but of course this is a clear goal because this is one of the strong benefits to use VzLinux compared to like CentOS or Rocky or Alma Linux. If you use VzLinux, you get support from us, also for the guest. And when will the same another question from Jürgen, when will the conversion from CentOS 8 to VzLinux 8 work with Plesk? Actually, it's also a very good question. Right now, we have more progress, to be honest, with cPanel at this moment. For Plesk, it's still on their roadmap, but we don't have strong influence here. I mean, we have some influence, but we cannot push them. So it's still in discussion with them. But right now you can use it only for CentOS 8 installations without any control panel, unfortunately. So let me switch to the demo part. First of all, I need to go. So actually, we have a system here. It's just, you see, latest Virtuozzo 7.1, and we have created a container already. Basically, just let me enter it. So you see it's latest CentOS 7, and we can convert this container from outside. So let me exit this container. So basically that's it. There are also some additional options like list and convert. So you can convert CentOS 7, CentOS 8, Alma Linux 8 containers to VzLinux 8. And so let's convert our C7 container. It will do some preliminary checks, like checking if there are some third-party repositories which are known to fail and may break the conversion. Let me just turn off my notifications here. It takes some time because it does some checks, adding repositories, replacing all the packages from the repositories and so on. So let me just switch back to my browser. If there are some additional questions. Right now, it's the best time to ask questions, by the way, because conversion takes some time, and we have a couple of minutes definitely to answer them. So you see, it's downloading packages. So all the packages which are installed inside our CentOS 7 container, they are replaced with packages from the and upgraded with packages from the VzLinux repository. There are also some warnings which are shown, but they are safe to ignore for now. So it takes some time. Let me see if oops. So any other questions? Looks not so at this moment. So let's finish it, because then I will just switch back to the presentation, because we have some additional slides. So this is about VzLinux. So you know, we have released our enterprise distribution. It's available for containers, for virtual machines, and for bare metal. There's also a Docker image already available, and cloud images, primarily for OpenStack. And we have a conversion utility for CentOS 8, Alma Linux 8 to VzLinux 8, plus an upgrade utility from CentOS 7 to VzLinux 8. So this is all already available. As I've mentioned already, about one feature in our enterprise edition, which we are going to release later this year, which is about ready kernel. You may know, if you are a Virtuozzo hybrid server user or customer and use Virtuozzo hybrid server with a commercial license, that we have a feature which is called live patching for Linux, our Linux kernel under VHS or under Virtuozzo hybrid server. So with this technology, we deliver security updates to our customers, so that they don't need to reboot all their infrastructure. These security fixes are downloaded and applied live on a running system. What we are going to introduce next year is called Ready Kernel Plus. So what is Ready Kernel Plus? Ready Kernel Plus is an enterprise-grade security vulnerability patch management system for different Linux kernels with a user interface and a management portal. It allows you to simplify daily maintenance operations for any supported Linux distribution. It's one service with a flexible choice of Linux distributions and applications to protect. It enhances security, definitely, while reducing cost. The primary focus for Ready Kernel Plus are hosters, managed service providers, and cloud service providers. On the one side, in this case, we want to eliminate customer maintenance windows, so you don't need to schedule any more maintenance windows. All your infrastructure which runs a supported Linux distribution will be protected. So we will deliver live updates for a lot of Linux distributions, and you can apply them without any reboot. It will reduce churn because customers are no longer dissatisfied because you need to reboot all their systems like once a month or every second week just for a small security issue which has been found in the Linux kernel and which must be fixed. We will secure non-clustered servers and non-clustered applications. There are a wide range of applications which can work nowadays in clustered approach. For them, probably a live patch is not needed, but there are also a lot of applications which cannot be clustered and which should never be restarted. It can be used as a managed service for hosters to do upselling, because they can give their users and customers a strong benefit that they can rely on the infrastructure, even from security perspectives, that there are no reboots needed. And the other angle is enterprises, healthcare business, for example, and system integrators. They can deliver business continuity for critical services and critical workloads. They can maximize their security with automated patch management plus a management panel for it. They can minimize their compliance risks due to rapid patching, and they don't need to deal with it anymore. We will have and deliver them a patch management portal which does infrastructure discovery, showing them which patches are missing on which nodes, servers inside their infrastructure, and will do all this patch management for them. Basically, they can offload their security support and maintenance to a trusted partner. And what we are doing for this, actually on the right side, you see we will deliver kernel live patching. We have it already for Virtuozzo hybrid server, and we will extend it to most popular kernels for most popular distributions like CentOS, Ubuntu, and Debian. We will also support kernel from right now niche players, which is also VzLinux. Just to be honest here, it's not an enterprise distribution which has a 90% market share. And we are niche player like Alma Linux and Rocky Linux, and we are going to support them as well, by the way. So it's not that we don't want to support our competitors in open source, we will do it. And on virtualization side, we will also support open source virtualization solutions like KVM and OpenVZ. And I want to protect also specific use cases and scenarios where environments are using assigned discrete devices or virtual GPU SIOV devices and so on. And on the other side, on the left side, we are going to introduce user space live patching technology. This is split into two sections. First one is libraries, which is most important one. And we are going to protect critical system libraries like glibc, OpenSSL, GNU TLS, and NSS. And web application libraries, for example, used for server-side languages in future like PHP, Java, or Ruby. And on application side, we are going to protect web servers like Apache and Nginx and probably Lightspeed. Database servers in future like MariaDB, Postgres, Redis, and MongoDB. They are by far the most used database systems. And mail servers. From SMTP perspective, it's Postfix and Exxon. They share biggest market share among all available SMTP servers, which are not Microsoft Exchange. And from POP3 and IMAP perspective, Dovecot, because Dovecot is by far the most popular used IMAP and POP3 server in the world. And we are going to protect also remote management servers from Linux, which is primarily OpenSSH. This is what I wanted to share as well, because it's coming beginning of next year. We are gradually extending it. So we are starting with additional Linux distributions because we have already kernel live patching technology. We will extend it to different Linux kernels from different distributions, and then gradually extend it with user space live patching for libraries. Once we have it for libraries, we will add applications which are linked on top of these libraries and so on. So this is also very much important. Actually, let me switch back. It's still in the process of upgrading. So actually for CentOS 7 to VzLinux 8, it takes much more time than a simple conversion from CentOS 8 to VzLinux 8, because we have to actually replace all the packages and we need to do it in the right order to not break something. So that's why it takes some time. Let me also switch back to our chat. I guess now we have more questions. A question from Yuri Code. Will conversion work with installations with third-party RPM packages if they provide so CentOS 8 repositories with these packages? Actually, let me add one of my colleagues here. I guess it's Dennis. Dennis, can you raise your hand so that I can invite you here to answer this question? Hi, Dennis. I guess you need to unmute yourself. Dennis? Actually, we cannot hear you if you say something or said something already. Maybe unmute yourself again because I've muted you now. Okay, Dennis answered this question in the chat now. There's something wrong with his audio or in his browser. So as for third-party RPMs, yes, they will work. You should just provide these repositories as parameters, then it will work. So then let me go back to the next question. From Robert Kuhn. Which impact have Ready Kernel Plus feature to live migration of containers between systems with same CPU but different Ready Kernel Plus patch levels? Actually, container live migration in most cases will work out of the box or continue to work. Just because, first of all, we switched our kernel live migration technology already to user space. So it's supported and working using CRIO and phall. So there are no kernel dependencies anymore. And there is one exception. So for example, if we deliver a major update, which introduces a new virtualized feature from the kernel inside containers, imagine the case like we will add like GRE tunnels, for example, inside containers or IPsec, whatever. And these containers are using it. Then you cannot migrate them back to older kernels just because older kernel has not the capability to do this for a container. But this is a rare case. Usually, all the features which we have nowadays are already included, and live migration works very smooth even between older ready kernel patch states. Because there's also one fundamental thing I need to mention. What we deliver with ready kernel only are security fixes. So we will not deliver any major update via ready kernel. So it's not that you can do a live upgrade like from, imagine the case from Red Hat Enterprise or from VzLinux 8.4 to VzLinux 8.5. This is not going to be delivered with ready kernel. So feature updates and bug fixes which are not security related are not delivered by Ready Kernel. Ready Kernel Plus is purely focusing on security. And usually security updates don't bring any new feature, any new capability. They are focusing on a specific case, fixing it. And that's why live migration will always work between nodes with different Ready Kernel patch state. The next question from John. excuse me if I don't spell your last name right, Kodice. What about cloud providers? Do you have plans to present VzLinux to marketplaces and support it as Red Hat? It is not about Virtuozzo managed services on AWS, for example, just OS on marketplace as VM and EC2. Actually, yes. For AWS, it's already uploaded and published. They had a couple of follow-up questions to answer, but the same for Azure and for Google Cloud. They are all already there. We built these images already, uploaded them, and they are just in publishing state. And in this case, they are also free. This is our community edition. We just uploaded it, so you don't get any support like with CentOS. It's the same. You can just deploy EC2 instances a little bit later, hopefully later this month, based on VzLinux. Okay. So that's it for the questions for now. So if you have more, just put it here inside. Let me switch back to, so this is still upgrading. And maybe, Dennis, you can answer this question. How long does it take usually for a container? You can just type it into the chat. We started it, I guess, 20 minutes ago. Roughly about 30 minutes. Okay. So then like 10 minutes more to go. In this case, it are OpenVZ and Virtuozzo hybrid server containers because, that's what our focus is for containers. And do you need it for something else? I mean, what other containers do you run with a guest operating system? I mean, maybe a Docker container which runs old CentOS. Okay, for LXC, we don't have any solution besides moving LXC containers to our containers, to be honest. But if you want to convert LXC CentOS 7 container to LXC VzLinux 8 container, this is not definitely not yet possible. But in reality, it shouldn't be so hard to build a conversion or to extend our conversion utility to allow CentOS 7 LXC to convert it to VzLinux 8 LXC container. But right now, this is not in our scope. I mean, we are focusing on our own container technology, just to be honest here. Okay, still converting. So another comment from Jürgen Weber. As you said, Ready Kernel Plus is only for small security updates and not for new operating system releases. Rebooting systems for new operating system releases often takes very long. And for Virtuozzo hosts, even longer, up to 30 to 60 minutes, until all containers are being restarted and so on. Right now, we actually, since the Ready Kernel Plus is a new offering for us next year, and the technology will evolve, I cannot confirm something yet that we are going to deliver also major updates in future with Ready Kernel Plus. Actually, it's a logical next step. So since we have the technology already for small updates and for security fixes, which doesn't change data structures in the Linux kernel, so some data structure changes from size perspective, we cannot do this right now. But it's a logical step to research technology which does it in future also for major updates. Right now, it's not there, to be honest as well. but I will take it as an item to think about and to do some research for one of the future versions of Ready Kernel. There's a question from Abasi Punawala. Do you support Kernelization in Linux for containers? Actually, I need to think. I'm not sure if I got it right. Sorry for that. Let me. We can do this here. Actually, it would be good if you can just drop me a message, like a mail afterwards, to discuss this offline, because I need to check it a little bit more in detail before, especially if it's for compliance requirements. We need to dig into deeper. So it's hard to give a good answer right now, like doing yes, like yes or no, or when it will become available. So I need to dig deeper into it and look at the impacts and the cost for it. So would be good. Either we can discuss it after this masterclass in the roundtable, so in the launch, where you can also ask questions, or we take it offline, whatever you prefer, and discuss it via mail. It's much preferred right now because I need to check it more carefully. Thanks. So let me once again look into our first of all. So it's first of all it's done, and it's successful. So let's enter this container, which is still called C7 because this was the container name. So Red Hat releases now Virtuozzo Linux release 8, and there should be also a VzLinux release. So it's latest 8.4.0 version which is available. So basically that's it for the container. So a container is now converted, runs all applications from VzLinux 8. So there's no rocket science. You just need to wait some time. Basically, that's it. And it supports mass conversion, so you can do it with more containers. You can schedule a maintenance window for example, for customers running CentOS 7. If they want to be converted to a latest VzLinux 8, schedule maintenance window for them and execute this command. You can also try it before, as I've mentioned, with a dry run, so that the customer container is really able to be converted. And basically, then you can execute it at some specific time, and container is now running latest VzLinux 8. Basically, let me switch back because this was anyway the last slide, and we have our Q&A session now. So let's look at the questions. Oh, I see that Dennis has answered already or discussed. Yes, exactly. Our conversion utility right now for containers is bound to OpenVZ and Virtuozzo. So, do you have any more questions? Just raise them now. You can also raise the hand. In this case, you can ask your question verbally if you want, or you can type it into the live chat. Okay. Actually, if there are no more additional questions, I will hand it over back to Christian. And what I also want to say, probably Christian will say it as well, we are still here in the launch, and we can discuss one-to-one questions you probably have forgotten now or didn't want to ask here in the chat. So this is no problem, and we can do this even afterwards. So in this case, thank you very much for attending. I hope it was useful. You can try all these things on your own. So you can download VzLinux, you can download the conversion utilities, you can download the upgrade utilities, you can play with it on Virtuozzo, on a bare metal system, inside a KVM VM, or on top of OpenVZ. It doesn't matter. You can just try it and, of course, provide feedback. We are highly interested in, it doesn't matter if it's positive or negative feedback, but we are highly interested in any feedback. So let Christian, when Christian raises his hand, I will hand it over to him. Okay, he may not be here. No problem, because he has a lot of masterclasses where he does the introductions. So no worries. Okay, in this case, thank you very much for your time today. And as I mentioned, just come to our launch if you have additional questions. So I will stop the recording now. And thank you very much. And I wish you a good afternoon, morning, evening, wherever you are. So bye-bye.